Hey everyone, this is Pallavi, and today I'm going to show the third game from the book Logical Chess Move by Move by Irving Chernev. From this game, we will briefly learn about the queen's pawn opening called Colle System, and also few principles of chess with some interesting tactics. Let's start. So, in this game, white was Edgard Colle and black was Jules Joseph Delvaux, and it was played in Ghent in 1929. So here white started with d4, controlling the center, preventing black from playing e5, and also making way for the bishop to come out. Note here, the d pawn is supported by the queen. Black played d5. Now with this move, black is also controlling the center, preventing white from playing e4, also making way for the bishop to come out. And after that, white played knight f3. Now, Emanuel Lasker, who was a world champion for 27 years, says of this move, knight f3, "In my practice, I have usually found it strongest to post the knights at bishop 3, where they have a magnificent sway." Here, bishop 3 refers to the squares c3 and c3 and f3 for white, and c6 and f6 for black, meaning that Lasker usually found his knights to be strongest on these squares. So after knight f3, black played knight f6, developing the king's knight towards the center, while it's a most useful square here, controlling the center and also supporting the d5 pawn. So after knight f6, white played e3. Generally, it is dubious strategy to open up one bishop's diagonal while shutting in the other. This bishop on c1 is blocked by the e3 pawn. But white is adopting a system that stores up dynamic energy, which will be released at the right time by an explosion at the key e4 square. His bishop will occupy the d3 square, and the b1 knight will move to d2. From this position, white will be controlling this e4 square. Now after that, if more force is needed, white can bring his queen to e2 and also control the e4 square. And if it is needed, white can also castle short and then bring the rook to e1, which will also lead to the control of the e4 square. So after e3, black played e6, a developing move, making way for the f8 bishop to come out, but shutting in the c8 bishop. So clearly it was better strategy to either play c5 here to attack the pawn on the center, or to play bishop to f5, which would develop the bishop to an open diagonal and also control this d6 square, so that when bishop comes to d3, black can exchange it. So in that case, the exchange of these two bishops will remove one of the weapon in the kingside attacks. So after e6, white played bishop to d3. Now developing on an open diagonal, controls the central square on e4 and also ready to attack on kingside. Now black played c5. This is a good move, striking at the pawn center. This freeing move of the c-pawn is one of the greatest importance in queen's pawn openings. Now white played c3, strengthening the center and also making way for the bishop to retreat. So when black plays c4, white can easily play bishop c2 and still maintain this diagonal. So after c3, black played knight to c6. Another good move, developing towards the center and increasing the pressure on the d pawn. Now white played knight b d2. An odd looking move because this knight not only blocks the paths of the queen and the bishop, but the knight itself seems to be doing little good. But the idea is to put more pressure on the e4 square. So after knight bd2, black played bishop to e7, brings another piece into play and prepares for castle. Now white played castle, king safety. Black played c4. Now the purpose of this move is to chase off the d3 bishop, but the move is weak because it releases the pressure on white's center. When the pawn was on c5, it was attacking the d4 pawn. Now there is another golden rule here. Counterplay in the center is the best means of opposing a kingside attack, and to secure counterplay, the pawn position must be kept fluid. So here white wants to attack towards the king side, so black must strike at the center whenever it's needed, and in order to do that, black must keep the pressure on the pawn. So when he's playing c4, now the pawns are stuck here. You cannot capture and open up. So after c4, now white played bishop to c2, saving the bishop while still maintaining the control of the diagonal. Now after this, black played b5 to make room for the c8 bishop to b7, and also eyeing to make trouble with advance of the queen side pawns, like this. Now pause the video and take a guess what white played next. I'll give 3 seconds to pause. So here, after pawn to b5, now white played e4, the key move in this opening. Now it will open up lines for an attack by white's pent-up pieces. So after e4, black played d cross e4. Otherwise, white would have pushed the pawn to e5 and attacked the knight on f6, the defender of the king side. So after e4, black captured d cross e4, and now white captured knight cross e4. Now white's pieces that were crouched in the background can now be active. So after that, black played short castle. Now it might have been wiser to postpone the castling, contrary to usual principles, castle as early as possible, as white is ready to attack in that direction. So here, in the book it says that black could have tried another for a counterplay by playing queen to c7, and then followed by bishop to b7, and then followed by rook to d8. But in my opinion, black should have played knight to d5, which centralizes the knight. So after short castle, now white played queen e2. Now with this move, white has developed the queen from the back rank with a threat. Now you can pause the video and think, what is white threatening to play? So here, white is planning to play knight cross f6 check, bishop cross f6 and queen to e4, a double attack. Now the queen is threatening to checkmate on h7 and also attacking the knight on c6 with the support of the bishop over here. So after queen e2, now black played bishop b7 off the back rank and also supporting the knight. Now white played knight f g5. Again, you can pause the video and look for white's threat. Now white is planning to play knight cross f6 check, then bishop cross f6, and now bishop cross h7 check. When king goes to h8, white can go to queen h5, followed by bishop g6 discovered check, and when the king goes to g8 and queen h7 checkmate. So after knight f g5, now black played h6. In my opinion, instead of h6, black could have played knight cross e4, queen cross e4, and then g6. Well, the pawns are disarranged, but it still was better than h6. So after h6, now white played knight cross f6 check, destroying the best defender of the king side. Now black played bishop cross f6. Had black played g cross f6, then knight cross e6, it's a fork. then f cross e6, and now queen g4 check, king h8, and then queen g6 threatening to checkmate on h7, and then f5 only move. Now queen cross h6 check, king g8, queen cross e6 check. Now white has a winning position as white has more pawns and also black's king is in danger. So after knight cross f6 check, black captured with the bishop. After this, white played queen e4, threatening to checkmate on h7. Now black played g6, blocking the checkmate threat. Now white played knight cross e6. The knight captures a pawn and also attacks the queen and the rook. But the main idea is to remove the guard, the f7 pawn. When black captured f cross e6, now the g6 pawn is unsupported. Now white played queen cross g6 check, leaving black with one reply, which is bishop to g7. Because if king moves to h8, then queen h7 and checkmate. So after bishop to g7, now white played queen h7 check, forces the black king out into the open, king to f7. Now that's the only move. Now white played bishop to g6 check, forcing the king more to come out in the open. Now black played king to f6. Had black played king e7, then white could have captured the bishop. So king f6. Now white played bishop to h5, threatening to play queen g6 check, king e7 and queen g7, gaining the bishop. Now after bishop h5, black played knight e7, preventing queen to g6. Sorry, here. So after knight e7, now white played bishop to h6, bringing another piece into play. Now white played rook g8, supporting the g7 bishop. And now white played h4 with the idea to checkmate by bishop to g5, and it's a checkmate. So black played bishop cross h6, capturing the piece which is threatening to checkmate, and now white checkmated, queen f7. Instead of bishop cross h6, had black played e5, then bishop cross g7 check, rook takes g7, pawn takes pawn on e5 check, king e6 and queen takes g7 check. Now white has so many extra pawns and the black king is still in danger, so it's totally winning for white. So with this game, we learned that the principles we learned, to occupy the center with pawns, to develop your pieces towards the center, castle as early as possible, and develop bishops on open diagonals, and also to develop with a threat, if possible. And the most important golden rule is that counterplay in the center is the best means of opposing a kingside attack, and to secure counterplay, the pawn position must be kept fluid. So I hope you learned something from this game as well. Thank you for watching, and please like, comment and share and subscribe to my channel. I'll see you in the next video. Thank you. Bye bye.